Korean exports surpassed $80 billion in March for the first time on record, setting a new monthly high as strong semiconductor shipments drove overall growth despite rising oil prices and logistics disruptions from the prolonged Middle East conflict.
중동 전쟁 장기화로 유가가 상승하고 물류 흐름이 원활하지 못한 가운데서도 우리나라 수출이 지난달에 처음으로 월간 수출액 800억 달러를 넘어섰습니다. 이번 실적을 전체적으로 견인한 것은 반도체 물량이었습니다. Tell us more.
Yeah, so both the monthly trade balance as well as exports marked their highest levels ever recorded. Over $80 billion US for the first time, and it marks the 10th consecutive month of record-breaking performance for that respective month as well. So exports right now out of Korea are doing very well, and for the most part, it's because of course, the semiconductor industry, which Korea is a world leader in.
Definitely. The semiconductor industry, 반도체 산업이 되겠죠. Or the chip industry, as it's also known. Those are interchangeable. Let's have a look at the expression despite something.
We use despite when we're talking about something that was able to happen or succeeded or something that did happen, even though there was some sort of a negative force that might have prevented that from happening. So it could be like, even though something could have gotten in the way or this thing could have gotten in the way, like they're saying the conflict in the Middle East is sort of, ruining the economy in a lot of places.
Yeah.
But even though that's happening, despite that, Korean exports are still doing well.
Exactly. Sometimes people have outdoor weddings and they hope it won't rain. And yet you can still have a great wedding despite the rain.
Exactly. So that's the rain is like this negative force that might ruin something, but you're still able to succeed at something, even though there's this negative force happening as well.
That's right.
A similar, expression that we'll use could be also in spite of rather than despite. So sounds similar, and it is, but it's in spite of can also be interchangeable.
You can use it interchangeably here. So
yes,
something drove overall growth in spite of rising oil prices. Same as saying despite rising oil prices.
Exactly. Yeah.
그래요. 뭐뭐에도 불구하고. What about logistics disruptions?
Logistics, first off, is something that you'll hear a lot in business talk, especially large companies. And basically, the bigger a company is, the more difficult it is to run because you're managing so many different people and moving parts and things that are required to keep the company active. If you have just one person as a freelancer, then one person is making the decisions and everything's easy. But the logistics is kind of like the difficulty of coordinating all these different things within a major company and making things able to run smoothly. So especially things like delivery. If you think of like Korean's top delivery companies, then they'll have a very large logistics department that kind of help organize the delivery of all the vehicles and delivery people that they have.
Yeah, when I hear the word logistics, I think of things or people moving around. So in this case, we're talking about goods, products being moved around.
Yeah.
But like you said, it could be people or whatever it is, coordinating all these different parts and making sure they move in the right way, in the right direction.
Yeah, and of course, in the actual article, it's talking about logistics disruptions because of the conflict in the Middle East. So even though there's this conflict happening, logistics should be more difficult because of different paths that are maybe cut off in that area. It could be because of financial situations. There's things that are kind of throwing a wrench into the logistics. It's disrupting the logistics that should be. But, still, despite of all of that, things are doing well when it comes to exports.
그래요. 여기서 말하는 logistics disruptions는 물류 운송이나 운반의 그 흐름이 끊겼다, 차질이 생겼다라는 의미가 되겠습니다. Disruptions. 방해의 의미가 들어있기도 한데요. 탁 지장을 받게 되는 그런 상황이죠. So we're talking about the Strait of Hormuz, obviously, in this case. Logistics disruptions there because things aren't able to get through. 자, 그럼 다시 한번 읽어보겠습니다. Korean exports surpassed $80 billion in March for the first time on record, setting a new monthly high as strong semiconductor shipments drove overall growth despite rising oil prices and logistics disruptions from the prolonged Middle East conflict. Here's our next headline.